What's up, bookworms? Welcome to episode 111 of the Cantina Book Club podcast, where readers can find interviews with authors from all genres. I'm Megan, self proclaimed content queen, here to bring you insights from the authors themselves. Each week features a Cantina conversation with an author. Sometimes they're returning guests, sometimes it's someone new. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on an episode, and feel free to browse through existing episodes so that you could catch a previous interview about a book that you've finished. Today's episode features a chat with Leslie Grace Streeter. We're talking about her book, Family and Other Calamities. That book is out now. This such a fun chat. We got a little off topic, going off on some tangents about just reading and reviewing books and respecting author spaces versus reader spaces. Some spoilers do pop up in these conversations, but the episode is more enjoyable if you've read the book anyway. If you don't know why we keep calling Leslie's main character kind of a mess and her family a mess, then hit pause, add this episode to your playlist, go pick up a copy of Family and Other Calamities. The interview will be here when you're ready. Just a heads up that I often use adult language to express my feelings towards these authors and their work. Whether the characters need to get their shit together or I am saying what the fuck to the author for making me feel things, just please be mindful around listening ears. The book's coming out for November this week, November 4th. So on November 6th, If You Claim Me by Helena Hunting, I did get an arc of that and read it and reviewed it. So you can hop on cantinabookclub.com if you want to read an in-depth review. But basically, it's an interconnected standalone hockey adult romance, very funny. And if you are familiar with her Toronto Terror series, you're gonna love this one with Connor and Dred's love story. And then Beauty by Brittany Nicole is on November 7th. And I have been following Brittany's work, and this is another interconnected standalone hockey romance, adult romance, following the youngest, Langfield Sienna. And I'm really excited to read that when it comes out. And now a word from Crystal Hope, founder of the Book Podcast Connection.
Hello, listeners. My name is Crystal Hope. I am the host of Must Love Books podcast and the organizer of the Book Podcast Connection. The BPC is a networking group of over 100 book-related podcasts, from fantasy to romance to horror and every genre in between. There are even podcasts for authors and writers. Check us out on Instagram at Book Podcast Connection or at www.bookpodcastconnection.com and discover your next bookish obsession.
And now I know I'm biased, but I definitely recommend that you check out the amazing plethora of bookish podcasts and subscribe if you're looking to get more out of your reading lists. Without further ado, get ready, grab your favorite drink. Here is Leslie Grace Streeter. So today we've got Leslie Grace Streeter. We're talking about her book, Family and Other Calamities. That book is available now. Perfect. Yeah. Leslie, thank you so much for joining me today. This book was so fun and messy and just I love getting to know your characters, and I loved all the messy bits and figuring out how it was going to happen, how everything was going to turn out. So I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper today.
Yay, thank you.
So to get started, can you provide a summary of the book so that kind of listeners can maybe follow along if they haven't read it?
No problem. My book is about a experienced journalist who comes back to her hometown of Baltimore after years in California to bury her husband's ashes, and then finds out that a friend who had stolen a story from her, a very pivotal story that turned out for his career, from her 30 years earlier, is making a movie about that, and she is the villain. So she's got to deal with that. She's got to deal with some family messiness that she has never really dealt with. She's got to deal with the version of the story that she tells herself. Is that the true version or is that something else? She's got to deal with the one that possibly got away, plus a curious R&B diva that appears to be stalking her. And it's just really fun. I love that you pointed out the messy parts, because the mess is fun to me. The mess is super fun.
I love mess. I just love drama, chaos, at least in fiction.
Yes, not in life.
In real life, I think one of my favorites is when you have characters who are just so self-assured, or
maybe a little intimidating. They're maybe a little bit like no nonsense. And then you put them in situations where they're like out of their element and they got to
Absolutely.
deal with it. That's one of my favorite parts. Like, I love it was for some like male main characters, like romantic interests. I felt more attracted to them because they were flabbergasted at a
Yes.
situation. Because I
Yes.
just, it was hilarious to me. And yeah, I love the messiness. I love it when you put your characters through it, at least through the fun parts. Because I know, and then we'll get into it, but I know your main character, oh gosh, what was her name?
Dawn,
Dawn.
yep.
Yeah. And I know some of this reflects on your own experience. So we can move into like your background, either professional or personal, and like what led you to bring family and other calamities to the world.
Oh gosh. Okay, so this is my second book. My first book was called Black Widow. It was the sad Black Widow, a sad, funny journey through grief for people who normally avoid books with words like journey in the title. And it was my memoir about the first year of my widowhood in 2015. So it's been 10 years now since my husband Scott died. So that book came out March 10th, 2020. Sad trombone. So everything that I had planned for it, I was supposed to be on the Today Show talking to Jenna and Hoda. I had all these tour days planned, and everything in a week got canceled because of COVID.
Oh,
And so, yeah,
oh.
it went. So that book did not do as well as I had wanted it to. But now the good part is because of this book, that book is also getting some love. So that's really good. I am from Baltimore,
Was
Maryland.
that a
That
nonfiction?
Yeah, that was a memoir. That was a
Oh, that was
nonfiction.
memoir. Yeah, nonfiction.
This
Okay.
is my first work of fiction. I'm a journalist. I've written for 32 years, and they frown on journalists making things up. So this was very exciting to me to take something that was partially based. There's a lot of similarities, at least in the beginning, about Dawn, what we do for a living. We're both married to a guy who died. It's a whole thing, both from Baltimore. And then it takes a turn that has nothing to do with me. So that was really fun to do that. And I think I'm going to stick with fiction for a while at least. I think it's been really fun, like I said, just to see the possibilities of it and to see people get it. What I was doing, somebody reviewed it and said, I liked it except for the end. It seemed like like a Scooby Doo episode. I'm like, yes, I'm Gen X. That's what we do. We have kids skills where for some reason everybody's there at the same time. There's a party, there's a ball, it's the Gilded Age, we don't know, and then something crazy happens. That's like
I
that.
did, but it was funny because like I was taking notes throughout the whole story, and I was like, and this comes in, and he comes in. It just was like, because it was like, I guess, because you set the tone where it's a little unserious, and it's just there, it's messy from the beginning. It's like her sister's like conspiring with her arch nemesis to do something, and then I would have been like, what the absolute fuck? You're allowed
Girl,
to swear.
the most
Well, like, yeah, absolutely. I would have been just as upset, and I was like, is this really happening?
that reveal has garnered the most what the fuck emails and texts from friends and family who get
That's so funny
Tanya did what? Wait, what happened? And my friend Chandra was like, it's on a
because
site.
that
I'm
was in
like,
like the first few chapters too.
yeah. So it's a lot, but it's also I've said to people before, this is a book I probably could not have written when I was younger, not just because of the age of the characters, but because more about yourself and you're over your own bullshit the older you get. I think Dawn has
Yes.
been made, she's been allowed to not be admitting her own bullshit because she's avoided it for so long. You come back, family
Yeah.
will tell you about yourself all the way, all the time, and she's just avoided doing that. So now she's in a place where she needs their
Yeah.
help. She needs her brother-in-law's help, who she's never really gotten along with, and she needs to rely on her sister, who there's, as you've read the book, there's reasons, and so there's nothing like I came home. I don't have any relations like that in my family, but to come back to Baltimore and have to say, okay, how do I compare to the person I was last time I lived here in my 20s? And even though I came back a lot, what does that mean? And people like find you on Facebook and go, oh, and they remember you one way and you remember yourself one way. And then have conversations with people where I thought I knew what they were about or that I knew what our relationships were. And it just is completely different. Now, for the most, it's good. Some people are like, okay, yeah, you should have stayed back in high school, but which is the truth. But I think that, you know what? But I think this book has been, it's eye-opening what people take from things. I'm sure that you read books and you have an idea this is where they're coming from and someone else reads it and they see it completely differently.
Yeah, that's why I'm like one of my best friends the other day was like, I'm at the library, I want to get back into reading. What do you recommend? And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Like, do you want suspense? Do you want like romance? Do you want fantasy? Do you want contemporary slash like fiction, whatever? And she was like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, so I shot off a bunch of stuff and then I sent her more like author recommendations,
Mm-mm.
even though I haven't read everything by a certain author. I was just like, from the few I've read, I'm like, I felt confident,
That's
but like, we'll
awesome.
see. And I told her, I was like, if it's not vibing with you, you're totally allowed to not finish a book. It's okay.
And
I feel like so many people like
oh
just
my
need to hear that.
God.
You know
And
what I
there's,
mean?
I hate rules about books. I hate, and I do a lot of, I'm on a lot of book threads and I don't do book talk as much. I read a lot and what people are talking about, and all these people, and I think a lot of it is for engagement, who say things like, you have to finish a book. First of all, no, you
Yeah,
don't.
like controversial. Yeah,
Yeah, and
like
they do it to be controversial. So I'm glad you got the attention that you were looking for. God bless you.
right. Yeah,
It bothers
yeah.
me too because there's so many people who are intimidated by reading, and anything that discourages people from reading with this artificial set of standards and rules is bad, because I don't want people to say I didn't fit all the parameters. There are no parameters. Just read what you like. Don't
Uh,
read what you don't like.
it's seriously like our time is precious and then you're allowed to discontinue something that you're not vibing with. Like
Absolutely.
it's not the end of the world. Like reading is such like a personal thing.
Yeah.
Like I know like collective when we're like in school and stuff,
Yes, yes.
but like reading is such like a personal experience where it's just you could tailor it to you. And that's why I was like, this is what I would recommend. And if even if you don't like it, like at least hopefully it gives you an idea of what you prefer, what you're feeling. And I was
Exactly.
like, it's really funny because she's, I'm at the library. I was like, I don't know what your library has. I was like,
And also, it's nice that she asked you, because obviously you know a lot about books and stuff, but everyone, like I just talked to a friend of mine, Scott Iman, who writes mostly Hollywood biographies. He has a Joan Crawford book coming out. He used to be the books editor at the Palm Beach Post, where I used to work. And we were talking about everyone who recommends books. It's like, if I don't know what it is you like, or if I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes some people just don't read things. Like I know people who, I have a very close friend who loves fantasy, right? That is not my deal. So if I asked her for book recommendation, if I said, "Hey, I'm going to take a shot at reading a fantasy book," she knows what I like enough to say, "You might like this. I don't know if you would like that." And
right.
I think that it's valid when we're talking about reviews or just recommendations to say, once again, one size does not fit all. I hate when people say you have to read this book, or
Or it's, oh, what's wrong with you? You rated it 2 stars. It's no, everybody is so subjective and they're allowed to think that way. And yeah, you might think they're crazy for thinking that way, but they're absolutely allowed to think that way. And that's why when my friend, I was like, I don't know how deep into romance you want to get. These authors, they're great and it's like comedy, but it's, you will know where the hands and mouths are. Like, like you will get the spice, you will get the open door. So if you're uncomfortable with that, maybe you want to steer away from
I
that.
love
You
it.
know what? It's and it's also a spectrum in its own. Like there's a group of books that I would recommend it to my mom, but then there's also a handful of books where I'm like, oh, I know, like I have a writer friend who she writes like dark romance, white shoes, and I'm like, this is up your alley. And it's just things like, it's just read the room. Let's just read the
That's
room.
so important. Like I said, I love the conversation that we have in books right now, where people, I hope, like I said, I hope they feel free to explore and to say, I might not have liked this one thing. Also, I hope that people, like, for instance, I know there's lots of conversation about, say, a certain fantasy author who is a terrible transphobe, but that person. But I've seen people say, if you want to avoid that person, here are other books in that vein that you might avoid. Also, it's okay to have liked her books, right? Because we didn't know that
Yeah,
she was
because
a terrible
she was very quiet about that during that whole
transphobe. Of course.
like, and it just also, unfortunately for me at least, my perception is that it also shows how intelligent she is. Like she
I get
She's unapologetic about
she's
it, you know.
unapologetic, but I guess if you have that much money, you're like, F it, I don't care. But why would you want to ruin your legacy? Because I always looked up to her before I ever
Exactly. It's like it takes no energy to just not tweet,
just not
to just
tweet.
be quiet.
And I
Just
guess
be quiet.
she's now got a new retelling at HBO, so I guess, or Netflix, so I guess she's fine. But I guess it didn't bother people that much. But if I were her publicist, I'd be like, dear God, girl, put the freaking phone down.
Yeah, and exactly to your point, she's probably, I don't need to. I don't need to put the phone down. I don't need, she's, and it is disappointing. It's heartbreaking because I know so many people in that community felt a connection and felt seen and felt, it's just heartbreaking.
Felt
But I think
seen and
that just shows, I think it shows us like our people who we admire and who create beautiful art are also problematic.
yes,
So,
problematic. And it's okay. I know there's a whole line of separating the person from their art. With me, it comes down to I would never support that person ever again. I would never buy another book. I'd never recommend it because I don't want to give them any money, even though they don't need my
exactly.
$25 or whatever it is, $35.
No, they would don't. She really doesn't. She doesn't need, and I don't think even if she sees a dip in revenue or anything, I don't think she'll care. It
She's
doesn't seem like she
it
cares.
doesn't
It doesn't seem like she cares.
no, she can't because if she did, somebody would tell her to shut the fuck up. And or someone that
And
she
she,
works with or someone who works for her because apparently it's not hurting her bottom line. I don't know if you follow controversies and books and that kind of thing. And
a little bit, yeah. Like I know that I felt like I caught the Ellie Hazelwood drama, and it
yeah.
was like, and like I love the book community, but it's also like, how does it have a Mean Girls aspect to it?
Oh,
You know what
there's
I mean? Like,
so much a Mean Girls aspect, and
how is it so toxic? Like, how is we're supposed to be like the most accepting people because we're like reading about the resistance and different like points of views and BIPOC authors and LGBTQ authors and all those different types of stories of rising up against the regime, and then you're gonna go and hate on someone for having a certain opinion.
I think, and I can't
Specifically,
specifically, I can't speak for all writers. I know that for a lot of writers, and I'm 54, so I've been around a while before.
get
Oh,
out of here.
yes, 54, flaky,
I,
cracky.
at a risk of sounding cliche, black don't
It does
crack. Like,
not. The lack of
you
blacky
know,
crackage, yes. But there's so much. When writers were typically like people who sat in their rooms and wrote, and sometimes we have a reputation for not being social. I was very social. I talk, as you can tell, a lot. But this whole idea, I think that in a lot of writers, there really still is that disgruntled 14-year-old who still doesn't feel enough. So they're jealous. They're watching what other people are doing. They're trying to be accepted even if they are accepted, because so many of these people in these controversies are very popular and very like
yes, I know. And like as like a bookstagrammer, as someone who's trying to like just get my reach out there to get words from authors, the stuff that I do with you guys, get it out there. It's like, how can I reach more people? It's, oh, just say something controversial and then to get the conversation going. It's, I'm just not that person. But it's like I look at people who like have a natural gift for it, and then I see other accounts that are like they're just being outrageous to be outrageous,
well,
and it's
do you know the whole lady whistle threads thing? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like the book threads, like yeah,
And that
like
actually was about the writer who we're not naming, about that. I guess there has been some fanfic that sort of like two of the characters together, love enemies to lovers
yeah,
thing. And so
yeah.
people were like, let's not promote this. And she was promoting it and she pretended not to understand why it was that people in the trans community were like, whatever. And then so she had to come back. It's funny because she covers controversies. Cover yourself, dude.
Yeah, she's, oh, I'm gonna give you the tea, and it's like you're part of the
They're the
tea.
party, which once again you would think you would stay out. I know that there's I just had a conversation with some people today about this sort of getting away from, say, traditional criticism, where it was supposed to be very not anonymous, but it was supposed to be neutral. It wasn't like you weren't supposed to be, say, promoting the books of people that you had relationships with or that kind of thing. And so I know that a lot of this is different. We're in different times. Anybody, there's a great democratization of book writing and book criticism and that kind of thing.
Oh my God. I feel like it's like the publishing industry has just changed so much in such a short amount of time.
It has.
Like, so crazy. And like influencers or whatever, or like how many followers someone has is it's unfortunately because I'm like a little baby
Mhm.
podcaster and I'm like a little baby account compared to so many other people in the space. But I'm like, I'm still rooting for people who are like me, who are like, no, you can find great recommendations outside of the popular books
Yes.
of the smaller accounts. That's why I'm like, I'm happy to interview and promote indies and even traditional publishers that are like can maybe come under the radar
Yep.
because I think like it's just as important because yeah, like my algorithm will feed me a certain thing and I hope that I can help certain authors or whatever whenever their book comes out or if they're like even if it's a debut or if it's a trad where they had a bunch of published works under the belt and I will always love to promote like the smaller less known following versus the big names because I'm like I think it's just as important.
It's obvious that you love what you do, that you love books and you're passionate about it. And I think that we need that. I, having been a professional critic, I still err on the side of that only because of nuance sake. Because I think some people are like, I like this or I don't like it, and it's I don't know you, so that doesn't tell me. Like you're saying, and with recommendations, it doesn't tell me anything. But I also like that the space once again has been democratized in terms of there are more voices. Like when I started writing columns and stuff in my 20s, I was told that there weren't any female black movie critics, so I probably couldn't be one and bullshit like that. And so there was a gate that was being kept. And even when I got into those spaces,
So just be one.
yeah,
Just
just
be
be
one.
one. It was hard.
Just do it until people like want to until people catch
So
you, you know?
it was hard
Oh,
in those days, but it was pre basically internet. So it's like you worked for a
okay,
magazine
yeah.
or a
Oh my
newspaper or
God.
whatever. And so I wound up getting some of those jobs. I had this guy when I was doing music criticism who wrote me and said, when I first saw your picture, I thought, what can she know about rock music? She's a black chick. But now I've read your stuff and I really like it. I'm like, good for you, Kevin. The fuck. I felt really bad about my life, Chad, and now you've endorsed me. So
Is Kevin like the equal to Karen? Like
that
it's
I Kevin is my you're annoying man name. So yes,
I
probably.
because I don't I feel like okay, there's a universal Karen, and I'm like I feel like I'm still trying to find what a Kyle or a Chad or what's the equivalent of
My
a
son
guy
just asked me. I said, "There's so many names, and their names like Kyle and Chad,
Karen. Yeah,
things of that nature." But yeah, I just to go back to my book a little bit. I know that everything is not for everybody, and I think that more of the people that have either I don't read my reviews usually, but most of the reviews that have liked it,
good. You shouldn't.
no, are people that are not people are a little older, people who get my pop culture references, people who understand, who appreciate, like you said, messiness, who understand that the version of yourself you think you are isn't always really who everyone thinks you are. And maybe you're both right.
I'm into multiple types of genres, and rating it's really impossible to rate a genre
No.
rate all genres across the same scale. I will romance, fluffy sports romance or spicy romance, adult romance. I'll rate that differently than a suspense and thriller. I try to respect it on like rate it on the genre that it is because amongst spicy romances I'll read a book that's, oh
But
no,
see,
this is like one of the better
but see, once
ones, you
again,
know? And it's,
that's why you're good at what you do because you have a scale. You don't come in and go. I used to get annoyed as a movie fan and as a writer when people would write like they were expecting an Adam Sandler movie to be, they rated on the same scale as like a
well,
Martin
don't
Scorsese.
talk to me about Adam Sandler because I don't understand why him or Will Ferrell make money.
There you
So,
go. But no, I'm saying it's like you understand it's different than I would read reviews where they would go, and this is silly. It's like, of course it's silly. That's the point of it. It's not
yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be
yeah.
a Martin Scorsese movie. It's not gonna be. And so that's there's different ways of doing it, and to be honest about it, or just say this ain't my thing.
Yeah. You don't have to be like cruel about it. I try to be like fair and somewhat kind when I don't. Because I'm like, I'm trying to be constructive because I'm like, the pacing was off or I didn't understand this plot point. It's, yeah, I'll look at it like that. But it's, if I'm reading a romance and I'm not feeling a connection to these characters And if I'm not like feeling the love story, then maybe that's not a written romance. It's just
Once
like, there's different criteria.
Absolutely. Was in my 20s when John Grisham was really big, right? And so a John Grisham book, it didn't have to be, it had to be, is there a lawyer? Is he in the South? Does something crazy happen? Does he have to run a lot? Is he Tom Cruise? Whatever. And so that's what I judge those books by.
So if we can like maybe merge into, besides whatever you're comfortable talking about, let's see, like sensitive topics,
Sure.
sensitive themes, and if you're like however deep you're willing to
Oh,
get,
let's do
because
it.
there was like, yeah, like Dawn was going through it, and everybody, there was a lot of people judging her
Yes.
for a lot, and they used it against her, like her
Yes.
credibility. And
And
so, and
which
I know that
is
you have personal experience, so
not
I kind of, yeah, I want to explore that, whatever.
interesting. And people have asked, did you ever have a story stolen like that from you? But I do understand as a woman in the workplace that you are judged more harshly than men are, not just by your professional thing. What Joe, who's her former friend who is writing this movie, alleges things about her and her late husband, both personally and professionally, that would make them look bad. That would make, because he has figured out that this movie is happening. He wants the money. He's not sure where it's happening with his career, and he wants to dirty her up so people will not ask any questions. So if she comes back and says, hey, this was my story, you stole it from me, he can go, nobody really trusts you because this person that I've named Fawn, not Dawn, Fawn, this person is a terrible person and not a good judge of, they have not good character, they do not have good character. So why would anyone, if this is you, which I'm going to say it is, why would anyone believe you? So I have not had, mine has been more like, people are always judging if you're a woman, are you having a relationship with anyone that you know or that you work with, is that you have to be above reproach. I had an editor who was a larger woman, and someone was saying they didn't like something that she did, but they referred to her size, and I said she can be what you're saying, but you would not say if there was a
Yeah.
heavy man, you wouldn't say.
Why is her size important to how annoying she's being? It's like,
Exactly. And so I wrote from the perspective, once again, having been in this business for a very long time, that it is hard sometimes to really know exactly why people are judging people the way they're judging him. Is it because they did something, or is it because you just don't like them, or is it because, like I said, there's a standard that women and people of color have to hew to? Obviously, I deal with grief in the book, like myself. Dawn is widowed, so there's that, and that was what my first book was about. It's been 10 years since my husband died, like I said, so there is an element of healing that I have done that she has not yet done. She's working on it. And also, her husband dies not of COVID, but during COVID. So there was this sort of isolation from that. So she has not had to deal with a lot of that in terms of other people. I think that during COVID, we were all grieving. We were grieving not just people who may have died, but we were,
it was everybody, not one size that does not fit all,
no,
but we were all going through the same
all
thing.
going to the
Yeah.
same thing. And I think that one of the things I want to do, both in this book and my previous book, is to talk about grief as a thing that happens. Our society is really bad at it, at talking about grief, because we want to
All
avoid
right.
it.
So, what were the most challenging parts to write? What were the most enjoyable parts to write?
Anything with Miss Vivi, the mysterious R&B Viva, were my favorite things to write. I could not wait to go back. And at one point, my editor goes, "We need more Vivi." I'm like, "You got it," because she becomes part of the structure where she's trying to tell Dawn things, and Dawn isn't exactly sure what she's talking about. She's like Yoda diva. What is she doing? What's going on? But they were really fun. I was very, because I had not written fiction to this extent before, I wanted to make sure that the characters were very distinct. And I have gotten feedback that they were, because I didn't want them all to be the same person, to talk the same way. To This is just something I'm getting into because I'm a columnist, so I write with my own voice. So inhabiting other voices was a challenge, not just it wasn't like terrible. It was just like literally, it was challenging. I challenged myself to be able to do that, and to be able to say differentiate Dawn's voice from her sister Tanya's voice, or
Right.
her mom's voice from her aunt's voice, and to make them distinct people. And so that was really, and also to make sure that it made sense. And that, because you start writing, you go, wait, you have to go back. Did I name this person a different thing? What was their name the last time? Stuff like that. So it's been really, that was a challenge, but it was a thing I was really excited to do. Like I said, in my first book, where I literally wrote about my actual husband's death, that was hard. Writing those scenes were hard. So I feel like now I'm used to writing sad stuff and hard stuff and things that either are real or smack of being real. So making sure that people care, because I'm not famous, right? So making sure that people care about the things I write is really like, whenever somebody goes, "Oh, I read your book," I'm like, "Why?" Why would you? Because it's humbling, right? To have someone sit down and
Or it's also, how did you hear about it? I don't know. Like,
exactly, exactly. So it's been, I was in Amazon First Reads thing. We've got like 2,500 reviews, which is really great.
that's great.
And it's,
That's great.
like I said, I have not read most of them. I read some of the 1-star ones.
You shouldn't. I feel like that's the one rule for a lot of authors is don't
Don't read
read
the
your
reviews. Well, reviews are,
reviews of your
they're
book.
not for us. Reviews are for other. I read the editorial reviews, but I don't read
Right.
the Amazon or book. I haven't even been on Goodreads. I haven't even been on it.
Good reads, yeah.
I read a couple of the, I forget what's that site. There was a couple, but I was like, you know what? It's not for us.
Like, what is it, like Storygraph
Yes.
or Blue Sky or
It's
something?
not
Like,
for us. It's for other people. And so I'm like, you get to write, you get to read and think what you like.
no, even if I rate something like 4 or 5 stars, like I only tag you guys if we're doing the podcast, and
Exactly.
I don't tag you guys during do even if it's a good review. I don't
It
tag you
is
because I respect that space.
so many writers I read, and no one has tagged me in a bad review, but there are a lot of writers on Threads and Book and Blue Sky who complain
I don't understand
about
anybody
being
who does
tagged
it.
in a bad review. It's, you don't have to tell me. It's cool. I trust you. You don't have to tell me you hated my.
Well, even then, it's, oh, I could say a 5 star review, and then somebody could comment like, no, this book was trash, and it's if I tag you in it, you're gonna see that.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
What's I being a writer requires a certain amount of thick skin anyway, because you're being edited, you're being critiqued, you're having people say, "Oh, we don't like that one. We don't want to read that book. We don't whatever." And you have to go through, like, past your agent, and if you have one, which I do, past an editor and past these people. I mean, the first version of this book got rejected by everybody. And then this version of it, my editor, Selena, shout out to Selena James at Lake Union Publishing, who was like, "Can you take this story and put it in a different world?" Because at first, Dawn was a 90s pop star who had been in a band. And so it was a lot of the same people. She had been a 90s pop star, and she quits the band.
that's
Yes, she
hilarious.
quits the band right before they become famous briefly. And she does go on to get married and be a writer and all kind of things. So it's the same setup. It's just a different thing. And they said this is a couple years ago when Daisy Jones had come out. Daisy Jones and the Six, they were like, bands get back together. It's whatever. They thought it was too close. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, okay,
So
yeah.
when Selena was like, what else can you do with it? I was like, journalism. She's like, let's do it. So you got to listen to that. You understand rejection as a writer. And I think that's part of it. So if some dude,
It's constructive criticism.
it
Like, you
is.
want it, it is what it is. Like, you want the work. You want to trust the roles, like the editors.
Yes.
You want to trust that they know what they're doing, right? You want to trust their vision, that their experience, even if you're like, no, this is super important.
So, it's self defeating, and you do become that 14-year-old convinced that no one likes you, and you're in your room writing longhand and crying. So, I prefer not to do that. I prefer to not put myself in situations, understanding that there's a difference between, say, rejection professionally and going, some guy in Texas didn't like my book. Okay, that's cool for you. Good job and guy in Texas. And if you think that other people should know about that, cool. The guy that said I hated the cover, couldn't get past it, I'm like, who is that helping?
Yeah, exactly. Or like someone who's, oh, I couldn't get past the fact that a main character was named after my ex.
Yeah,
That's not the author's fault. That's you.
it's
Or if you're
you.
distracted, I recommended Fourth Wing to my cousin because he's like I need you to read the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I need to talk to you. I need you to read it. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna give you like hours and hours of my time, I need you to read something that I recommend. And so I was like, I recommended him a couple different things. I was like, if you're comfortable with open door sex scenes, read Fourth Wing, and he did. And he was like, I don't know, I just couldn't get past the fact that they like every scene they were like, I want to fuck you, and I was like, you're missing so much because you're so distracted by the desire, the love story, the pining, the like sexual tension. There's so much going on other than the love story, and so it's examples like that where I'm like, that's on you. That's not like on me.
It
That's not
really
on the
is.
story.
Like,
That's not, yeah.
having read those things, go, well, I knew a girl named Katie and I didn't like her. It's that is you and Katie's problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, the author didn't call you Bernice and ask what names personally bother you. But you're right. But if you're going to let that get in the way of your enjoyment, that's your loss.
Exactly, exactly. I'm such a bookworm in that way where I'm gonna try to respect it as it is, even though I'm like, I don't get this. Because I'm like, even I feel bad reviewing a book that I would give 1 or 2 stars. I feel bad, but I'm like, this was like not good. And I feel bad about it, and I don't know like what else. If I can't say anything good about it, I just won't post about
Yeah.
it. If they ask
And
me, even if they ask me to read it,
I
I just don't feel comfortable.
I had a friend who was a restaurant reviewer, same thing. If there was something that was really big opening, she would review it even if she didn't like it. But there's some things, and I can say this because I know they're not listening to this. There was a restaurant that I used to go to in West Palm Beach all the time that I liked, but they were always trying to get me to get the reviewer to review it. And she said, they don't want me to review that.
Yeah.
And it bothers me that they keep going to you. It's weird to put you in the middle of that. And as far as I know, she retired a couple years ago. She never reviewed it. And I went to go, do you think that if she wanted to review, and they were like, they took it really personally. It's no, because she didn't have a lot good to say about it. And she said, maybe I'll give him another shot. So my understanding is
I know, and that's the whole thing. It's like you're asking for reviews, but you have to open up to the possibility that it's not going to be favorable.
Exactly.
And it's just,
yeah, it's hard. I think because I used to write about, I had a little blurby thing that was like out in the town kind of thing, and I would write about stuff that I liked. And so I'd written about them a couple times, like, oh, they have a new trivia night or whatever. And so I think, were hoping that she would do something. That she ain't gonna do that. She gonna tell you what the deal is, because I'm not a food critic. I'm just someone who writes about food, who writes about a lot of things. And once again, it's okay. And I love that this is the conversation that we're having, right? Because there's so much dark happening in the world right now. And so I like focusing on stuff that you like. Why waste time on shit you don't like? Why waste time?
this is not, we can get political if we want, but I'm like, we can do it in a healthy way. But I'm like, at the end, because books are, no matter what anybody says, books challenge
They
politics,
do.
like no matter what. Like they challenge things that make it up the chain of command. And it's just, oh, can we not do that? It's like, no, you can't. Like, it's whole impossible unless you're just missing the point. So it's like we can go there, but it's like this space is, we're talking about you and we're going to go off on tangents.
Yes.
And
here's the thing, everything, you know this as a woman, everything is political. People have to bring politics to it, because politics aren't just who did you vote for. Politics are, to exist in a female body is political.
It's so
it just
stupid.
is. And so once you're honest about that, you feel whatever spectrum you fall on, what you feel that means or should mean or doesn't mean, and who gets to be a woman, all that other stuff. Everything
Exactly.
is inherently political if you understand politics as the way that you see the world, the way that you navigate the world.
Just like how I was telling you with my sons, we made a trip to the city and
Yes.
we passed like homeless people or people asking for money and stuff like that. And I think that was their first like real up close experience with that. And I didn't like want to make it a thing. I was just like, oh, I could pull $1 out of my pocket and put it, or I'm just like, oh, here, this is what I have. Or there was like a mother and son selling like candy or whatever. And I think they were like immigrants and whatever. And it was just like, hey, we could buy candy from them. It's not like, it doesn't have to be a thing. We're just, hey, do you want something picked out?
Yes.
And then I just let them keep the change. And it wasn't like, I just saw it as I tried to tell them, like, it's, if we have enough, and you can just be grateful of what we have. I don't think it's a big deal to just give people a few bucks here and there. Like
It
it's
shouldn't
not,
be.
it's just, and that's your choice. That's why I try to tell them, like, it's my choice. This is how I feel. I don't think it's a big deal. And I see the empathy of it. And so if my kids I think children in general, they see is more impactful than what you tell them. So it's just like
Very
you're
good
setting
point.
an
Very
example.
good
It's like
point.
it doesn't even have to be a big thing. It's or whatever. And I don't want them that to necessarily be expected of them, but I guess I want to show them like it's okay if they want to do that. Like it's
And
normal. They can say no or yes to doing that.
and it's about humans. It's like there are people who do not feel comfortable taking their kids into certain places. I live in Baltimore City. There's stuff happening. It is not The Wire. It is not a drug deal happening on every corner. It is not. That's not what this is. There's places where that is. You just don't go to those places. But I think that's a place anywhere. There's places in the rural town I used to live in, New York, Pennsylvania, where you know where the drugs are, or the crime is, or things you don't want to know about. We cannot shelter our kids completely. We can make choices about our exposure to things and how much exposure we want them to have. But for instance, my son and I watch a lot of movies together, and I think that he would enjoy parts of Sinners, but he's not ready for that. It's still very sexual, but there's a lot of it in terms of like the politics of literally being a cultural vampire and about what it means to feed on other communities and stuff. And those are conversations I want to have with them. Those are conversations that at 11 or
Yeah.
12, he's almost 12, that he's,
Like you feel comfortable talking about.
yeah,
It's all about comfort because I'm like to go to your point, there's certain things that you don't it's the parent's choice. You don't have
no,
to bring it up if you don't it, yeah, it's like in this sorry, I like got off on a tangent
no,
because
this
there
is
was a
great.
point that
This
you
is
made.
great.
There was a point that you made where I felt like, oh my God, that clicked, and then
No, it
it'll
was
probably come
about
back
like
to
I
me.
like that we're having this discussion about the world and about how we see it, and like we have had this discussion about things happening in the book world and that sort of thing. And to me, it's all about exposure and discussion. It's about, because I knew, like when I mentioned Lady Whistlethreads, you knew who I would talk about if you're in that world, because there's so many discussions, or Ollie Hazelwood, or all these things. There's some discussions I don't really engage in, but there's some things I see. They go, "Did you see what's happening?" You see the book talk or book.
You're like kind of like a
Yeah,
lurker
you're
just
a
to like
lurker.
be up
Yeah,
to date.
and I read some of my
Just to like, be in the know, but you're not like contributing
no.
to the discord about it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I did respond, I think, to Lady Whistlethreads just because she was being all like, just as a person, I was like, you know what you're doing. You know what you cannot be involved in the business of controversy, which is why I will tell you,
And
at my
and
age,
I feel like it was bound to happen for someone who's tracking everybody's drama. Like the drama was gonna
it
follow
was going to follow
her
you.
or
And I will say,
him or her.
wait,
Yeah.
we're relating back to my book. It's eventually your shit comes back to you. Your shit comes back to you, and you have to decide are you have to decide what you're going to do when it does. You have to decide,
Yeah.
because to live in this, Dawn lives in this world where she thought she could avoid this shit, and she had very successfully avoided it for 30 years, and then she couldn't avoid
Yeah,
it
she
again.
like literally ran away and
Ran away and went boop.
she legit ran away. Like
She was like deuces,
and
and she left. And I think that it does not take 30 years for most people's shit to. Do you watch any Housewives shows?
no, I've seen like clips of it, but I
It's not
don't. Yeah.
necessary. I will say that so many women on those shows have like shady pasts. It's like, why would you sign up to be on a show that followed your every move and not think that they're going to find out you were a tax evader, that they weren't going to find out that you like ran a Ponzi scheme, that your husband was stealing money from like widows and orphans? Why would you do that? And it's just, once again, the arrogance of never come back to
Yeah.
me.
Oh, then nothing's gonna touch me. It's no. That's specifically probably why they chose you to follow,
To
like because they
follow
knew that you
and then be
turned.
like, what do you mean
Or they
me?
gotcha.
It
Gotcha.
got you. And once again, I think we live in this society where we don't keep secrets, everything except for the secrets we think we're keeping. So like these people who go on and go,
Yeah.
here's me pooping, and here's me having sex with my boyfriend, and here's me telling on my business, whatever. And so it's done. You think you're doing it in a calculated way, right? You think you're doing it in a way that is not going to catch up to you. But they go, "What are you're so open about this? What are you hiding over there? What are you telling us over there?" And they're gonna find it out. So I think, yeah, if you're a person who exists to cause controversy, and I don't have anything personally against that woman, the book talk lady, the
Whistle down.
whistle down. I don't have anything against her, but yeah, it just I think that's a mistake maybe you make when you're I don't know how old she is.
It's just you do what you do and you have the following that you have and
Yes,
the engagement that you have, but it's just don't just be real with yourself how you've been trying to be real with everybody else, like about everybody else's
everyone
business.
else's business.
Like it just I don't know, I'm just like such a non-confrontational person and so self-aware where I'm like, yeah, I fucked up. I'm like, I wouldn't even think twice about it because I'm
Girl,
like, even I guess like sometimes I just don't. Part of me cares about what other people think, but like that other like how okay, you said your age. I'm 38. I'm that age, or even I'm already there where I'm like, how other people think of me is not really gonna
yeah.
change my day. It's if I discover like someone thinks I'm like a pathetic piece of shit, I'm gonna be like,
Okay.
okay, I don't
It
know. It's
doesn't
like, oh,
feel
I'm gonna be like, been there, done that. I don't
you know,
know. Like, I don't.
it doesn't feel great, but at the end of the day, it
Yeah,
doesn't really nothing doesn't
I'm not
affect
scared of that. I'm not scared
and
of
you're
that.
not going to
Yeah,
not be
exactly.
yourself because you're worried about that. And you seem to have
I'm already living my life like on a certain like leverage. I'm already like myself
yeah.
in day life. I'm like not gonna do that for some stranger on the internet. And
No,
it's like, yeah,
because
even if I'm embarrassed, like I get my 15 minutes of fame of embarrassment, I know the internet and the world is gonna get over it so quickly. Nobody's gonna
no, and
fucking
they're
care
going to
about
move on
it.
to the next person. And but also
Yeah, nobody's gonna care about it in 2 weeks.
when
Seriously.
you have something to protect, I think, and once again, this is part of getting older. I think that when you have something to protect, it becomes maybe you move differently, right? Maybe you think of things differently because you're not this young person like super you're young but not the super young person who like at 22 became super famous like the hawk to a girl
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was like everybody, like she was a big thing, and then everybody
and I
forgot
forgot
about
about
her,
her
and was just like,
that literally she like spent a lot of money like investing in a crypto coin. It's like the fuck you should have invested your money in something that wasn't this because you literally because you had no shame. God bless you did what you had to do, but you basically
I think I saw videos of her going and spending her money like at a pet store and donating but yeah, that was probably like a small portion of what she was
it,
actually. But I know there was like they are strategic about this. Oh, I'm like using my fame to donate whatever, but no, you're also doing other things. It's like,
you know
but exactly, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's so funny.
is I knew a guy who was on the second season of Big Brother back in 2001. And when he got out of the house, he told me, I interviewed him, he was from York, PA, where I was working at the time. And he said he knew that he had 1 year until the next Big Brother came on to leverage as much of his temporary fame as he could. And he did really well. He moved back to Miami. He became for a while the head of privé services of like VIP services at this big club in South Beach. He was on one season of the show that didn't do that. It didn't do much on Bravo called Miami Social. He was like, I got to hit this. And he was really, and now he's not living not far from me selling luxury real estate. You know what I mean? So
That's hilarious. That's awesome. Good for him as long as he's not problematic, you know.
he doesn't seem to be. He doesn't seem to be. Shout out Hardy Hill, who's not listening to this, but yeah, he figured it out. And also, I think he became famous as he was before social media. I think it's much harder now, and like
Oh yeah.
everything that we've talked about, the controversies and stuff, have to do with social media. It has to do with lack of editing. It has to do with someone not slapping the like we were talking our friend the big huge fantasy writer someone not slapping the phone out of your hand because very few people can sustain what she's put out there very most people's
Yes.
agents would be like cheesy Christmas why are we doing this
It seriously is so true. There's very few people with that status. You're absolutely right. Who could just freely feel freely enough to speak. and
breathe
feel
through.
like not feel the threat of whatever damage to their persona. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I want to get back on track because
Yeah, I would tell Dawn. I would have told Dawn 20 something years before this to handle your shit and to not wait until a big thing to have that conversation with your mother, with your sister. I probably wouldn't have, at that point, the decision that she makes to, and she has her reasons at the moment to flee town, literally quit her job, leave everybody in the lurch. She made the decision. She has known when since things got settled in her life with Dale in LA, she had plenty of time to make that right and just didn't. The advice I would give her now is to always be honest. You are never promised the people in your life, and you can take them for granted. She certainly seemed to take the relationships in her life for granted. I would basically just say, own your shit, girl.
yeah, yeah, just own the sequence of events that happens after. Yeah,
Because they're gonna find out. That's the thing I always say to my kid when he messes up. I go, was I not gonna find out? Like, and I don't mind saying this, he likes to listen to like ambient noise or lullabies or whatever before he goes, well, as he goes to sleep. He likes to listen to music. And if he doesn't have his phone, he will borrow my computer. And sometimes I don't mind him watching TikTok. Now, when he was younger, I didn't like him watching TikTok. So he would fall asleep with the computer on quote unquote lullabies. And I'd take the computer and it's on TikTok. And he would be like, what had happened was, or you could just say, either not do the bad thing,
yeah,
not lie to me about it, because literally, bruh, like
yeah,
I can see you. So I think that my advice to Dawn would be everyone is, we see you, dude. We see you.
yeah. Just acknowledge
Just
that, like
acknowledge it.
acknowledge the act, the what you did.
Absolutely.
Like it's because I felt for her and like I understood her decision making because it's the worst thing in the world to her happened. And she had this kind of out where there's like this man who she connected with, and she was like, he was on the verge of swooning, like
Yeah.
sweeping her off her feet. And he was like, not, he was like making it known, hey, this is crazy. Come with me. And she was like, okay. Like,
It's so funny. I think so much of that scene was inspired by the romantic comedies and the books and stuff that I read when I was younger, where some crazy thing happened. It's like Lifetime movie. Mother goes, oh, it's like a Lifetime movie. Where this big city girl goes to the Cherry Festival in Deepwood, Arkansas, or whatever the hell it is, and she meets the lumberjack, and he's so full. But that's all this bullshit that happens, and everything's happening at the same time. That
yeah.
like Dawn
She
finds out
solved all her problems like for 15 years and then didn't solve them anymore. Yeah.
exactly.
It was like, oh, now you got to go back to, you got to rewind and address that because you didn't get over it.
You didn't get over it.
You didn't grow.
There's advice that my uncle gave me when my father died in 2012, because his dad, my granddad, had died the year before, and he said, you will get through it, but you won't get over it. And I think that understanding those things,
That's so
that
important.
like,
That's so smart.
so like the people in the book have learned or learning to get through things, but they had to acknowledge the pain that was caused. They had to acknowledge the decisions that were made. And will Tanya, will she get over? She has gotten through by the, I'm not going to give it away, obviously, but at the end of the book, there are things that you learn to live with, but it still sucks to think about it, right? It's still in the
Yeah.
loss
It's
of,
not fun.
no, it's not fun. Loss of trust, loss of people, loss of space.
Yeah.
Those things are very present, and you just have to deal with them. You have to deal with it.
So leading into that, what do you hope readers get out of Family and Other
I
Calamities?
hope that they enjoy, and like that, what's that Marie Kondo thing, I love mess. I hope that they enjoy and recognize in these characters, even though there's a lot of extreme stuff happening all at the same time for story purposes, and it's not meant to be hyper realistic. Some people are like, why would that happen at the same time? It's like, it wouldn't, though. It's a book. It's a book. Stop. I hope that they recognize the discussion of aging, the discussion of grief, the discussion of considering your life, the one that may or may not have gotten away, of considering what friendship really means. What does it mean to be a friend? What does it mean to be a close relative? What does loyalty mean? who are you loyal to and who is loyal to you? How does ego work into the way that we deal with other people? And are
Yeah.
we honest about competitions? That Dawn was so like, ooh, whatever, that when she was younger, she did not notice that Joe, who she looked up to, who was a writer she admired, was jealous of her. And
No, yeah. When she grew up, she was like, wait a second.
yep,
She was able to look at it objectively,
yes.
and she was like, what the F? Yeah.
Do you know who Zibby Owens is, the book influencer? Okay,
No.
I was on her podcast a couple months ago, and she said,
Oh, I'll have to add her because I always want to support like
"There you
bookish
go, there you
podcasts and
go."
stuff like
She said that to her, it was about a decision you make when you're young, or at a point in your life that continues to reverberate past you how you ever thought it was. And I hope that people think about, not that they're going to make life lessons, but that they, or say, because she said this, I'm not going to make that mistake, but also think about the fact that everything we do affects somebody else. Every decision we make.
it's just kind of like a little tidbit, like be aware
Be aware,
because
be
it's like
aware.
yeah,
And particularly the older you get, when you find out these things, or if someone tells you, and sometimes it's just people bitching at you, you go, you know, you should get over that. But sometimes it's there are real consequences to decisions made or not made, or timing, or I didn't go to this or didn't go to that. Like sometimes you just have to, like, for your own personal edification and peace, you have to go, okay, I can't.
exactly. Exactly. It's okay. How important is this argument? Like, how important is this point that you're trying to make?
Huge.
Like, pick and choose your battles. And it's not even, between my own marriage, I find myself saying, I'm like, how important is this if I'm going to mention it? But it's also like in between friendships too, and in between like relationships with your siblings and your family members, your cousins, all that. It's just like people who you've known forever and like you know them, and you're like, do I feel comfortable saying, hey, just to let you know I wasn't cool with that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like how comfortable do you feel and how mature are both parties where you could be like, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know. I've
My
had
bad.
conversations with two of my best friends recently about, hey, this bothered me. And it goes both ways. And they would say, and it's not, I'm going to tell you something bothers me about you too. No, it's just
No.
that if you're,
It's just a simple, hey, this specific thing, I wasn't, it's just because I know you love me. I just didn't know why this
well, this
happened kind
happened.
of thing.
And
Like,
if you
yeah,
don't, I used to joke all the time that, like in sitcoms, where they'll say, "Oh no, what's that guy's name? I'm supposed to know his name," and then the character spends the next 2 minutes of show trying to figure out what the person's name is, or to go, "Hey," and then the laugh track, ha, rather than just say, "I am so sorry, your name has slipped my mind for a minute." And yes, it's embarrassing, but it's much less embarrassing than trying to play this game about trying to figure out who's
I know it's like, are we allowed to say, I'm sorry, I forgot your name? Are we allowed to say that? I think a lot of people, it's like a joke. Wait, we have, it's like that awkward thing where it's like one of the things, my favorite things to do is if I exchange numbers or if I have to introduce someone, maybe not if I introduce them, it's like I make them introduce each other.
yes.
Or I'm like, if I'm catching like a number, I'm like, how do you spell your name
I do
again?
that
Like,
too.
that's
And
like,
sometimes they'll go, Jessica, fine. Ball,
yeah,
dang nabbit. And then I laugh because sometimes the gigs is probably laugh.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
It's
I
just,
saw someone
exactly.
recently at an event and I was sure I knew who they were, but I could not remember their name. I knew exactly how I knew them. I knew, I just, I had a doctor years ago who said our brains are exactly the same size as humans' brains have been for centuries, for years. But
You know, we scientists don't even understand the human brain. We
no,
understand more about like space than we do the
the
human
brain,
brain,
but they do
which is
know.
crazy to me.
They do know that we
Yeah,
have more information that we're supposed to remember and retain than we ever have. So your brain,
fucked
the
up.
brain from 1940 who didn't have to remember fucking passwords and which email you signed up on this list for.
All right, Leslie Grace Streeter, what are you working on? What's next for you?
I am working on a couple of things. One, I don't know what's going to happen with it, so I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but I'm working on. I'm several chapters into a novel, which I will tell you about when something happens with it, and then I've started working on something else while I'm working on that because it's not like my life is not busy enough. I continue to be a columnist for the Baltimore Banner in Baltimore, writing about lifestyle stuff. I have a column writing about the end of And Just Like That / the Sex and the City saga tomorrow. That comes out tomorrow, and the end of the show comes tomorrow. So I write all kinds of stuff. You can find me on my podcast that I do with my sister called Fine Beats and Cheeses. That's about the things that we love in pop culture that people think are cheesy that we don't care that they do. The most recent episode yesterday was about Spice World, the Spice Girls movie. And you should be.
And that's so fun. That's such a throwback.
It is. You should be on my podcast. You'd be fun. Think of a thing that you love and can.
I am down.
And can defend. Okay, it's going to happen. I'll send you the link. But yeah, I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky and Threads and Facebook as Leslie Grace Streeter. So if you want to find me, you can find me. I'm a lot of places, and hopefully a library or a bookstore near you.
Perfect. Yes, I would definitely recommend Family and Other Calamities for people who are looking for silly. Yep. For silly, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like contemporary fiction, but it's like silly workplace drama, family drama, betrayal, a little bit of suspense, but I feel like that's just part of the storytelling.
Yes.
But it was so fun to read and so easy to read, so easy to like just breeze through. Like I wanted to know what was going to happen, engaging, and yeah. So Leslie Grace Streeter, Family and Other Calamities, it's out now, and if and when you've got your next project going, feel free to reach out.
Absolutely.
I'd love to chat again, to get off on tangents again. Hopefully my kids will be less disruptive.
You're doing a good job, Mom. You're doing a good job.
And there you go. That was Leslie Grace Streeter talking about her book, Family and Other Calamities. That book is available now. Check out the show notes to find links where you can find Leslie online on social media, where to purchase the book. In the show notes, you'll also see where to find Cantina Book Club on your favorite social media book communities, such as Bookstagram, BookTok, BookTube, Threads, Facebook, and more. And I would love and appreciate if you could hit that follow or subscribe button so that you never miss out on book reviews and author interviews. If you have any book-loving friends who are looking to get more out of their reading lists, please share Cantina Book Club with them so that they can find upcoming releases and interviews with authors. Another way to help this podcast is to head over to your favorite podcast player and give Cantina Book Club a rating and a review. It helps me to reach more listeners and fellow book lovers like you. And that goes for any podcast you listen to. It's one of the easiest things that you could do to help out. If you need book recommendations, you can reach out to me. I'm always excited to share my recent favorites. Or you can head on over to cantinabookclub.com to read more in-depth reviews of all types of genres. While you're at it, you could subscribe by entering your email on the website so that you could get new reviews and episode posts delivered directly to your inbox. If you want to support Cantina Book Club even more, you can donate by finding the form on cantinabookclub.com, whether it's a one-time donation or as little as $1 a month. I seriously appreciate the support and will share my appreciation by giving you a shout out on the show. And finally, one of the best ways to help authors promote their work is to head on over to Amazon, Goodreads, Storygraph, BookBub, wherever you rate your books, and you can give a title that you've read a rating and review. It's free and it helps out almost as much as actually ordering the book and giving them some love on social media. Thanks so much for listening and see you next time. Cheers.